All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to have us all here again today. I hope we can all hear me. If we can hear me, please let's just use the chat box. Drop a yes, drop a smiley that you can hear me perfectly, and we would be kickstarting today's event. I'm sure other people are going to join in. This event started yesterday. We had our first session yesterday, and we'll be rounding off today with our last session for this event. We have a facilitator online already, and I'll be introducing him briefly to us all as we all begin to join in. So okay, thank you. I can see that I'm being heard. So thank you very much. Okay, I hope we can see my screen, please. So this is our facilitator for today. I'm just going to be reading briefly a short citation about him, short bio about him, and then we'll start off, like I said. So we have with us today Mr. Olubiyi Michael. He is a serial entrepreneur and a development consultant to the municipality of Kingston, Miltonville Park, and North Shore, PEI, Canada. He has many years of experience working in the financial and business development sectors in Nigeria. As a graduate of economics, he has over 4 postgraduate degrees and many certifications in Nigeria, UK, and Canada. He is a scholar of Africa American Institute and an alumni of the renowned Coady Institute, Canada. Mr. Olubiyi is on the advisory board of ELFA International Institute with headquarters in Kenya and the UK. Please, let's welcome on board Mr. Olubiyi as he talks to us today. Thank you very much, sir.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? I'm so good to connect with you and share my knowledge and skills over the years working in the area of development and management, and help you guys figure it out as you also journey towards your own career accomplishment and trying to fulfill every single thing you intend to do. I'd like to start by trying to get to know some of you guys on Zoom, trying to put a name to your face. I know a lot of you are not on video, but I can see Joshua, I can see Bukola, I can see Tijesu, I can see Tinedu, I can see God's Gift, who was my student many years ago, and I'm so proud of what you have accomplished over the years. I can identify with your accomplishment as a pharmacist. That's really great. I'm so sorry, I'm at home at the moment, and you might be hearing some loud bike, moving around. It's summer here, and when it's summer, people just want to have fun and ride around. So I apologize for that. I couldn't stay at the office to present to us today. I'm presently in my house. Yeah, before I share my screen with you, I just want to make you also know that this 45 minutes or 1 hour I will be spending with you. There's a lot you guys can read about project management, and I'm sure some of you are quite familiar with what project management is. I'm just here to challenge you and to share some of my experiences and skills with you and help you learn 1 or 2 things that you can always leverage on in the future towards your own career accomplishment. But before we start, I believe you guys have paper and pen to write 1 or 2 things down. And the first thing I want you to write down now And it's going to be interactive. Please, I just want us to make it as interactive as possible. I can see the chat, so I might go to the chat to see some of the things that you guys are writing. I'm a trained facilitator, so facilitation is not just a one-way thing. So I want to hear you guys participate. I want you to write on that paper that you have with you and your pen, what specific project have you been part of and what was your role? What specific project have you been part of and what was your specific role? What did you do? And the second thing is, how has that role, the experiences, the learning, the tacit knowledge that you gain in the process of participating in that project, how has that shaping your knowledge, your understanding of project management? What have you done with that? What have you leveraged on as a result of the experiences you gained from it? So I want you to write it down. I will still make reference to that. What project have you been part of? What experiences have you gained from that project? So I want you to be specific about it. And how has that opened up any opportunity for you? Now, if you have done that, I want to see you comment like, yeah, I've written it down. Like, if you get everything I've said, just type something. Like I've said, I want us to make it participatory. Yeah, are we still writing? Thank you. I can see Bukola said I've written mine. Yeah, this is very, very important. This is very, very important. I have interviewed a lot of people. I've seen people who want to work in big organizations, and you ask them this simple question: what project have you been part of? And what did you learn from that project? And it's so funny that they can't even remember anything. Or they tell you the project they've been part of, but they can't really spell out the experiences they've gained from it. If you can't remember anything, it just shows that maybe when you are part of that project in the university, you were just part of it in order to get a mark or just to pass and get your grade, and you are not fully involved in it. Every single opportunity you have to participate in a project, it means a lot. It's an opportunity for you to leverage on the future. All right. I believe every one of you have written that. I'm going to share screen with you and just a few slides that I've prepared to talk to you about. Yeah. I believe you guys can see my screen. So project management method and tools. And I read through the letter you sent to me, and one of your goals is educating young pharmacists on the process and tools needed when managing a project. And like I said, when you were at what do you call it now? When you were at the university, you learned different topics. You participated through different courses, pharmacology and the rest of them. But that is not just what you needed to succeed and to thrive in life. There are other skills that are needed for you to thrive as a professional. And one of those skills is project management. And not just that, you need to know about conflict and conflict resolution and so many other things, but I've been given to talk about project management. So I'd like to start about what is project? What do you identify as a project? What is project? And I try to make it very simple. I said project is defined as a plan undertaking of related activities to reach an objective with a definite time frame. Before I talked about this, I want you to know that in every organization that you work with, whether as an MSME, or MSME means medium, micro, small scale enterprises, or working in an organization, working in whatever you find yourself, problem will always arise. Problem will always arise And if there is no problem, there will always be need for the organization to adapt to a new change. There's a need for them to adapt to new opportunities. Organizations are looking forward to, okay, how do we expand our system? How do we expand our delivery? How do we make our organization better? So there will always be need for a project. And gone are the days that organizations are looking for ways to outsource their projects, like looking for opportunities to just outsource their project and give it out to every single organization to carry it out for them. Most organizations now are looking within, what can we do for ourselves? And that concept is called asset-based driven project. So rather than organizations thinking of development agencies looking for partnership to come in and provide solutions to their problems or give them advice on how to expand, organizations are now looking at assets that they have within themselves and looking for a way to expand from there. And one of the key assets of any organization is human resources. And it boils down to, what can you offer as an employee? What can you offer as a staff? What can you offer as a member of such organization? So, and that will always lead to project. So project is about undertaking related activities to reach an objective. So the objective can just be that the organization wants to expand their scope. They want to be more profitable. They're looking for how to solve more problems. They want to come up with new drugs and medicines to come up with solutions to problems. In whatever capacity it is, there will always be projects. But the funny thing is that every organization is not just looking for people who will just come in as a staff and just be part of the organization. They're looking for people who can actually make impact, people who can really contribute towards the growth of the organization. And that comes about people who are skillful in managing projects. So when you are skilled in project management, you are already an addition to your organization. You are already an addition to your organization. So project management is very, very necessary. It's important that you understand it. It's important that you understand the requirement for you to be a spark of your organization. In project management, there are a set of people we call spark. These are people that in every organization, they are the top 10, like the top 10%. They are the going concern, in accounting, like the going concern of the organization. Without them, the organization cannot thrive. When the new project is about undertaking, these are the set of people that they are always calling. These are the set of people they are always looking up to, and bringing them together to drive the mission and the objective of the organization. So the objective can be to expand an organization. The objective can be to come up with new solutions. The objective might be to even wind up. Whatever the objective is, a project is just a plan-related activity that is designed to reach that objective within a definite or a defined time frame. Like I've said, problems arise in every organization, and these problems and their solutions establish an element of change around which an organization must adapt. So as a result of change that the organization is making efforts to establish, or a solution that the organization is trying to provide, there will always be the need for change. And how will the organization adapt to these new changes? These are some of the things that project management addresses. There's a problem, it's a solution to be solved, and what do we do about it, and how do we adapt to it as an organization? Projects are generally established to carry out these changes. So, like I've said, the essence or the importance of project is to drive changes in organization to achieve a particular purpose or a particular objective. I'll give an example. In 2011, while I was serving Central Bank of Nigeria, I was one of the core members that was chosen to the branch controllers conference in Otta. So CBN gathered all their staffs together. No, not all the staffs. I think from senior management position, you must be a senior manager to attend that meeting, and together with all the branch controllers in each of the states in Nigeria. And the meeting was held in Otta, and I was privileged to be one of the repertoire for the meeting, because I was always looking for opportunities, like I've said, to be, even though I was a core member, how can I be one of the spark core member in CBN? And that comes with knowledge. So while I was serving as a youth core member, I was already looking for opportunities. What can I do differently? How can I contribute? Like trying to get as much knowledge and skills that I can add to myself. So during the branch controllers conference, as the program was going on, and they were talking about billions of naira that Nigeria spent on abuse of naira note. Every year, Nigerian government or Nigerian economy loses, billions of naira trying to print new currency due to the way we abuse naira note. And right there, I started writing a proposal on how CBN can overcome the problem of abuse of naira. And guess what? That was the first opportunity I had to sit and present that idea with the senior management of CBN. And the rest is history. So I come up with an idea, and they see it as an opportunity to be driven. And I presented it to senior management. I met with the director of currency operation, and they arranged for a meeting, and I made my presentation, and that was really great. And after that, an opportunity came with the federal government, and I was able to create, offer my own idea on how to make things better, how to empower youth. If you go to Ministry of Finance, one of their departments, you will see my pictures being hung on the wall, up to today, because I contributed my own quota to the government on how they can do things better. So the point I'm making to you is there will always be an opportunity to be the spark in the organization. There will always be that opportunity to create a change. And these skills are just some of the things that you need to possess as a person for you to create a change. Wherever you find yourself in the future, as you progress, as you progress in your career. So, and that will now lead me to the question I asked you before. What project have you been part of? I want you to keep thinking about it. What project have you been part of? And what did you learn in the course of that project? And how has what you learned changed your life? What has changed about you? How have you been able to leverage on your experiences, to make yourself better, either to advance your career, either to get admission into a higher institution or whatever? I want you to note that. Now, in every organization, people are responsible to carry out projects. I call them the guys are set aside for project implementation. There are always people who are set aside to implement project. They are responsible for successful completion of any project. So what project have you been part of, and what project have you successfully completed? You need to understand that. If you have never been part of any project, if you have not successfully completed any project, this is the time for you to think, what can I initiate in my organization? What can we do differently? Like I've told you, you can read all about project management online. I want to share experiences with you and make you see how you can also create change. This seminar, whatever, is not just about coming to lecture you. It's about stirring up something inside of you to be the change that your organization needs, to be the change for Nigeria, to be the change for Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria, to create change in wherever you find yourself. It is very, very important. Now, when I came to Global Affairs Canada in 2017, invited me from Nigeria for a program here in Canada. And I remember in 2017 when I came for the project, and I did so well. I put in my best. I did all I could do with my research work and what have you. In 2018, they invited me again, but due to my commitment in Nigeria, I couldn't come. And 2019, because of my work with them at Coding Institute, one of the professors discussed something with the UNESCO chair at University of Prince Edward Island, in the Atlantic Canada. And I got to meet with a professor online, and we chatted, and he told me about the research, what he would be interested in me coming here to do. And I came here, I did the research, I completed it. And some of the experiences I gained through this process of work, I was able to leverage on it in my position today as a development consultant to the municipalities I work for. So it's so important that if you don't see change, you must create that change. But for you to create that change, you need knowledge, you need experiences, you need experiential knowledge that you can always leverage on to create change. Every project is unique in terms of problem that arises. So what are the characteristics, or what are the things that you can say about project before I talk about their characteristics? Every project is unique in terms of problems that arise, the priorities and resources assigned to it, the environment in which it operates, project personnel, laws, and project managers' attitude, style used to guide and control project operating constraints. So you need to expose yourself to varieties of projects. The problem that arises where you're working now might not be the same problem that arises when you were in school, when you work. I don't know whether you work in the school. Here in North America, while people are in school, they are working, they are part of the organization, they're supporting the organization, they're contributing one way or the other. But when you're in the university, while you are doing your internship, what are the contributions you made? Like I've said, I just want you to keep thinking, what have you done differently? How has your environment influences the project you've been able to initiate? And if you have never initiated any project before, or you've never triggered any cause for development within any institutions you find yourself, you need to begin to think in terms of, okay, what resources are available in my organizations? What are priorities in these organizations? The environment that we operate in, how can I create a change? What kind of project can move the organization forward? What kind of problem do I need to provide a solution to? Look at the strength of the personnel in the organization. What can you create? What can you do differently? How can you bring people together to create change? It's very, very important. Then look at the laws, laws regulating the affairs of what you do in your organization or where you find yourself. What can you do differently? It's very, very important. You must spearhead something as a person. You must spearhead a need for a change. You must spearhead a solution. It's very, very important. If that's the only thing you're going to learn today from what I'm saying, let it be that there is something you need to spearhead. There is a change you need to create. There is a problem you need to solve. There is a way or a path you need to create. It's very, very important. So what are the characteristics of projects? The first thing is the objective. So when you want to create a change or create a project or start a project in the organization, the first thing you need to look at is what exactly is my objective? What am I trying to drive at? What change am I trying to create? When I came here and I was working with the government, the municipal government, one of the things I did was I looked at their official plan and their bylaws, and I was able to come up with new ideas on how they can do things better. And because of time, I don't want to, drift into that. But I came up with specific things they can do differently. And after doing that, they embraced it. And not just to municipalities, not just for municipalities in Canada. And it's really great. 2 weeks ago, I was with one of the mayors here, and he said, "We are really blessed to have you. You've really, really helped us in ensuring that we put our official plan in the right place." And that's what I'm talking about. When you get to a new organization, don't just get there. Oh, I've gotten a job and I feel like that is the end of it. The first time you resume at work, start looking at how you can drive change. Start looking at how you can solve a problem. So the first thing you do in starting a project is, what's the objective of your project? What exactly are you trying to do? And this will take a lot of time for me to talk about it, but in summary, try to make it specific. What goal are you trying to reach? What are you trying to do differently? Is it distribution? Is it the logistics around where you work? Look at different departments. What can we do differently? How can we make it better? Very, very important. 2, give a time frame to it. Draw a schedule between this time to this time. The period of time that you want to see the project accomplished. You also have to identify what are the resources available for you to achieve the project. So what resources do you have? What resources are available through which you can drive the change you're trying to create? Then you have to also know the size and the nature of the task, and also identify step-by-step plan of action. So this is the first thing to do. This is the next thing to do. This is the next thing to do. You define it and you know how to follow through with it. And you also have to look at resources available to implement that: the labor, the equipment, the personnel, facilities, etc., that are available for you to drive that change. So it could be you talking with the management, trying to get their buy-in into it, trying to make them see reason why they need to follow your direction, trying to make them see why you're trying to provide a solution to the company. So let's look at the processes involved in project management. Basically, there are 4 processes that are involved in project management, which I'll talk about them one by one. The first one is project initiation. Project initiation. So the first thing you're thinking about in project initiation is establishing the project initiation team. So who are the people to work with you? Who are the people that will be part of it? Who are the team members? Who are the people that will drive the project? So, for example, let's assume that you want to expand the numbers of members of Young Pharmaceuticals Society of Nigeria, and you put teams together. Who are the people? What capacity do they have? What are they bringing to the table? What can they do? You want to, establish. You want to establish your team. The second thing is establishing relationship with the customer. And what I mean by this is, who are those that will benefit from your project? Who are those to derive benefit from it? Who will the project impact? So the customer here, I'm just talking in business terms, but it could be your organization, it could be your management, it could be your institution, it could be the government, whoever is going to be taking benefit or benefiting from the project. Is the customer in code. So you need to understand who they are and how you can establish strong relationship between you and them. Then establishing project initiation plan. So you also need to plan from the beginning. You need to define your activities, and you need to define your activities, and you require the team to come together, define their process of work, define the goals and the scope of the project. So what exactly are you doing? How big is the project? What's the size of the project? So you need to define all these things. Then you need to establish management procedure. And this has to do with developing team communication and reporting procedures, job assignment and roles assignment, project change procedure, and how project funding and billing will be handled. So who is going to be responsible for the final decision making? This is what we have intended to do. Who is going to sign it? So it depends on where you are, an organization you're working for. Of course, the most senior management staff decides what happened, decides whether the project goes forward, decides whether you're not doing it. So you need to know, identify your management procedures. Who is responsible for what? Who has signature over it? Who determines who has the finances and all these things? You want to identify them in the initial project time. Then the second thing in project processes is project planning, which is a little bit related to what I've said. At this point, after you have identified your team, and you already have an idea of what the scope is. You also have to now test the project for feasibility. How feasible is this project? And determine the complexity of the project too. So you don't just want to start something that you can finish. So you have to test it for feasibility. And what I tell people to do is to design what I call minimum viable product for their project. So for example, you want to, for example, like I mentioned to you, I wrote a proposal, I did a project with CBN as a core member on how to stop abuse of Naira notes. Now, before it got to the management, after the discussion, initial discussion, I got some senior management staff, discussed with them, they gave their feedback, gave it to the directors in CBN, they gave their feedback, put everything together. And after that, my minimum viable product, or in that sense, is some of the solutions I prefer, I test them for feasibility. So how can the project work? I need to show to them that this is possible, this is workable, this is practicable. You're not just talking in the euphoria of your dream, or just trying to tell them, oh, this is beautiful. This is going to drive growth. This is going to create change. This is a good solution. You need to show them how it works. You need to show them how it works. So I did like a focus group. I set up a focus group discussion. I put people together, wrote to them within CBN, and the first solution I preferred, I implemented it within them. And 100% response that we got from that shows that if this idea can work even within the staff of CBN, then it's practicable. So that gave them a listening here. When I told them this, I didn't want to go into details of the project. That's why I'm not, I don't want to go into the details. I don't want to go into details of time. But if you want to know more about it, I can tell you. I think it's on their website or thereabouts. So when they saw the minimum viable product, like I've said, the product is it practicable? This solution you are providing to us, will it work? When they saw it, they gave me more listening here, other than me just trying to describe some things to them that is not tested, is not practicable. You have to look at what problems and opportunity does the project address. You have to look at what results to be achieved. What are the results you want to achieve? What needs to be done? How will success be measured? You have to look at all these things. Then how will you know that you have finished the project? How will you know that the project is completed? What are the milestones? What are the specific things that you will use to measure that you've actually achieved what you set out to achieve? This is very, very important in planning your project. Like I've said, some of these things are what you can take a course and read about in details. It will help you. Then in project planning, you also need to know how to divide project into tasks. This technique is known as the work breakdown structure. This is done to ensure that there is progression between tasks, estimating resources and creating a resource plan. This helps to gather and arrange resources in the most effective manner. So who is responsible for what, at what time? When will it be done? You have to break down tasks into a way that you can measure it. So who is responsible for what? When will it be done? How will it be done? You have to create this. It's very, very important. So if you're coming up with a solution for your organization, solving a problem, you must be able to write it down in details. This is how I'll go about it. This is the first step to take. This is the period of time that it will take, etc. And developing a preliminary schedule. So if you don't measure time, or if you don't give timeline to a project, there'll be a problem. That is already set for failure. So in order to succeed in any project you intend to do, you must learn to set preliminary time. So you assign time, you estimate time to every single activity in the work breakdown structure. So you'll be able to create target starts and the end date for each project. So for each goals you set within the project, there's a time frame for each one of them. So you know who is doing what, when are they doing it, and when is due date for it. Then you must now develop what I call, part of your project planning is to develop a communication plan. You must develop a communication plan. So the idea here is, how do you communicate between team members and those to benefit from the project? How do you know that those to benefit from the project are actually getting the feedback that they wanted? You know, how do you communicate? What project standards and procedures are you following? So how do you measure the deliverables that the product or what you have intended to do? How do you communicate it to those that will use it in such a way that they're willing to be part of it? So whether the management of the organization you're working for, whether it's even your personal project for a customer, whether it's whoever is going to benefit from your project, all the stakeholders, how do you communicate to them in such a way that at every time in the process, in the project phase, they understand what you're doing? You need to put a plan and say, okay, the first thing, once we achieve the first phase of the project, phase 1, we communicate to them and get feedback. Now, when they give you feedback in phase 1, if the feedback is in line with their set objective, you know that you can proceed to phase 2. When you get to phase 2, if they give you feedback and it's in line with their set objective, you can proceed to phase 3. But when the feedback is not in line with the set objective, one of the control measures you put in place is to ensure that you retest the phase. You go back to phase 1 again and look at where there is deviation. Is it phase 1? Is the deviation is in phase 2? Is it in phase 3? And you go back again and the cycle continues. So communication is very, very important. Don't just think that, oh, I'm implementing a project for an organization and you do everything without communicating to them in the process of the project. And when you're done with the project, it's like, yeah, I'm done. And you submitted the project to them and they're not impressed, or it's not what they're looking at or what they're looking for. So there must be a medium of communication. So you have to develop a communication plan at every single stage. You also have to identify and assess your risk. You have to identify what are the potential sources of risk and consequences of those risks. So, for example, especially in the area of budget, you have to plan the expenses and revenue for the project. I remembered I worked with one of the planners in the Atlantic, we call it Atlantic Institute of Planners, and we were to review the planning hard for the province here in Canada and come up with a project for one of the municipalities. And she had already agreed with the municipal government how much will be paid for the project. And I think after the agreement has been made, we began the project, and the project was to last for, I think, 6 months. But at the 4th month, the exact budget that we estimated for the project, we've already exhausted it. And how do we finish the project? Because what we budgeted for it in terms of monetary value, we've already exceeded it. So we have to communicate back to them, and we're like, oh, this is our own budget. We can't go beyond the budget. So what happens to the project? The project becomes a stalemate because we can't go ahead with the project because we've exhausted all the money that was allocated for the budget, for the project. And the municipality on their own too can't just out of nowhere bring money and say, hey, go ahead with the project, and expecting them to fund the project. So the council had to make another resolution to provide funding for that project, and that's how we're able to complete the project. So you want to be sure that you have enough budget and you stay within the budget. And like I've said, communication plan. If anything changes, you should communicate back to the organization you are implementing the project for, and let them know that, okay, there's deviation in our spending, and they can reimburse you or find a way to ensure that money is not going to be a problem. Another thing again is, what if one of your team member just back out of the project? So what happens? You need to identify every potential sources of risk, whether health, whether financial, whether environmental, whether as a result of the law of the land, whether technological risk. You must identify all risk that can impede your project. Then another thing again you must know is to develop a statement of work. So this will help you to reflect in the process of your project. List the work that you have done, the expected outcome of the project, setting the baseline for the project plan. This will help you to have everything to tick. When you have your project task and the resources requirement, you can match them together. This is what we are doing. This is the resources required for it. Do we have the capacity to do it? Is the resources available for the project enough for us to do it? So if the resources available is enough, you know that it's easier for you to drive the project. But when the resources is not available, you know that something is still missing before you start implementation. It's very, very important. If you don't have statement of work in your project, you will always fall into trouble in the process of implementation. So don't implement your project. Part of project planning is developing a statement of work. It will help you. Now, this is the last phase of project process, which is the third phase, which is project execution. So this is just you executing your baseline project plan. Don't forget, you've identified your project stage, you've initiated, you've planned it. Now it's time for you to execute what you have planned based on the last thing I said, statement of work. And you as a project manager, not necessarily the project manager, but the project initiator, is to ensure that you execute every single activity in the project, is to ensure that you acquire and assign resources. If you need to train new team members or old team members on what they are expected to do, don't just assume that everybody knows what to do. It's a responsibility to train them on how to be part of the project. Keep the project schedule and stick to it. You've developed the time frame for each of the project. So each phase of the project. So keep to it. It's very, very important so that you don't lag behind. And then assure the quality of project deliverables. It's one thing to deliver your project at the end of the day. It's another thing is to compromise on the quality of your project. So ensure you stick to quality while you are also delivering your project. And you monitor your project against the baseline project plan. Like I've said, you have your statement of works, which is your baseline project plan. Ensure you stick to it. Monitor progress based on that. How do we know we have ended phase one? Check your project statement plan. Have we ticked every single thing we're supposed to do based on the plan we have already identified? That will help you. Then at this point, maintaining the project workbook. This will also help you in reflection. Maintaining complete record of all the project events. You must be able to write every single thing that happened from the beginning when you conceive the idea. This is just like you having what I call your portfolio, learning portfolio for the project. So you should have a learning portfolio where you write every single thing you learn, every single event that happened, who did what, when, how did they do it, every single information in the process, you detailing them down. And this will become your primary source of information for producing all project reports. And not just that, if you need to replicate the project anywhere you find yourself, your learning portfolio or your workbook or your project workbook will help you to not to forget anything. So you can know that when this happened, the challenges you face in the process of implementing the project, what were the steps you take? What did you do differently? The project workbook or your project learning journal will help you to ensure that you have all the information needed. Then communicating the project status. This is part of your project execution. So this means that the entire project should be shared with the entire project team, and any visions to the plan should be communicated to all interested parties so that everyone understands how the project is evolving. So this is just like you communicating the status of the project to everyone, to all the stakeholders, everyone that has taken in what you are doing, yourself, your team members, the organization you're implementing the project for, ensuring that they all have the information they needed. And the last phase of project implementation is the closing down the project. This is the stage where you say, yes, we've done all what we set out to do. We've achieved our objective from the beginning. From the beginning, you set an objective. This is what I want to do. And you are so specific about it. Now you have achieved it. So this is the time for you to process all documentation, put all the records together, write your report, do final review, go back to all the stages of the project and ensure that you have dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and you've done all the things that are needed for necessary, and put them together, submit the final report to your organization, or like I said, customer in code, those who need the service or those who you're conducting the project for on their behalf. This is the time you do that. Then after you've done that, I do advise that you conduct a post-project review. So this is just like you conducting what I'm sure most of you are used to, SWOT analysis or PESTU or SWAS or whatever you call it. This is the time to do that. So this is the time for you to determine, okay, what are the strengths that we had in the process of this project? What are the weaknesses of this project deliverables? The process you use in creating them, the project management process. And this is the time closing the customer contract, or you are saying, yes, the final activity has been done. We've signed all our contractual terms. So we've delivered the project as we set out to deliver. And this is the time for you also to draw on your lessons. So what have I learned in the process of this project? And I'm telling you, what you've learned from that project determines the kind of opportunities that also comes your way. Because if you've been able to do this successfully on your own, you'll find yourself in another organization in the future who will need your skills, who will need your, what do you call it now? Who will need your experience, who will need you, to trigger change within the organization. I do hear people say that, think outside the box. Yeah, project management is not just about thinking outside the box, it's also thinking within the box, because you need to follow procedures. There are, specific things you must do. So you need to understand that you are a quality assurance person. You want to be sure that the quality is maintained and the project you are delivering benefit the end users. The stakeholders are pleased with all what you're doing. So you want to do a SWOT analysis and learn from your weaknesses. And okay, next time, maybe won't have allotted so-and-so person to handle so-and-so project. You know who to work with. And I also know how to handle group dynamics. There's no time for me to talk about that. I have another meeting and presentation by 1:15. So, but you need to understand that how do we manage group dynamics when there are different kind of people within a group, and a lot of issues ongoing. So how do we manage that? So what are the benefits of just undertaking these techniques I've talked about? This is just like elementary, or I'll put it to you now, basic knowledge of project management. Just understand that the project initiation, basic knowledge to project implementation and reviewing what you have done. So one of the things I just identified based on my experiences over the years is, number one, you'll be able to link your project directly to the goals and objectives to the stakeholders. It's very easy. It focuses on customer needs, and don't forget I've said customer because I'm sure you guys are all pharmacists. So customer here means that those who benefit from the project. So it could be organization, it could be an outside agency that you're working for. It could be anybody, the people that would derive direct benefit from the project. So if you understand this, it will become easy for you to link your goals and objectives to them. To help you to build high performance project team, you'll be able to work with different people and be able to leverage on their strength and what they can also bring to the table. Number three, it will help you to break down structures, estimate project costs, and time frame. That is what I mean by the schedules. And meet time constraints. It will help you to calculate your risk before you even set out to do, to carry out the project. A lot of people are so excited about their ideas. Oh, I'm going to do this in my organization. I will create such and such change, but they are not considerate of the risk. They are not looking at what are the regulations, what from the position of law, legal position about what they intend to do. How will our project be constrained by regulations, by laws of the country and etc. And it will also help you to establish a dependable project control and monitoring system. Now, I've said it. All these things I've said to you this morning or maybe evening in Nigeria, they are basic knowledge of project management, which I believe that each one of you should know or you can read about or get to know them on your own. But the most important thing I want you to learn this afternoon is that nobody will reward you for anything. If you're going to get to the echelon of your career and become established in your path as a pharmacist, it's not just about doing what is already available within the organization. It's about your thinking. Even though I'm thinking within the boss, I want to also break the boss. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. Even though I'm a quality assurance person, I want to be sure that we are safe. What I'm doing is not going to cause unnecessary, it will not be detrimental to the organization. I also want to create change. So how do you create change? And that is what is rewarding. People who prefer solutions are the ones who enjoy the benefit of it. So when you provide solution, you'll be needed. It doesn't matter where you are in the part of the world. When I was in Nigeria, like I told you, I was able to provide solution. Even as a core member, as a youth core member, I was established. And I can tell you that I was really, really established. After the project I discussed about you with, I did another project with Federal Ministry of Finance. I did a project with World Bank in partnership with Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. I don't know what they are called now. The project was called GEM Project. And I can talk on and on and on and on like that. You see, here in the part of, it's only in Nigeria we take everything about, oh, this so seriously. Here in the part of the world is about what can you do differently. Everybody is looking for people who will do things differently. So I'm going back to the first question I asked you. What project have you done? What experience have you gained? How has that experience benefit you? Now, if you've not learned anything, if you have never done any project before, with what you've heard from me today, I want you to start look within yourself, your organization, the environment you operate in, the resources available, the core deliverables of your organization. What exactly are you doing in the organization? What is the main thing that your organization focuses on? And how can you create a change in the organization? What can you do differently? Once your thought line start going towards that direction, you will be needed. You will be needed. I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with who you are. You will be needed. You will be needed, and that's what has opened door for me. I was presenting my learning portfolio for one of the projects I did 2 months ago, and one of the things I said there was what 4 different mayors, said about me. And it was so amazing. The 4 of them gave a very, and I'm not saying that just made comment. I mean, they wrote comment that they put on their council's record, which means it's going to be there forever. That Mr. Michael Olubi, since he came in here, he has been able to do so and so. He has been able to help us in this way, being specific. And I'm so glad, and that has opened so much doors for me. So I want you to know that's just my main message to you, my main challenge to you in this program, that it's time for you to think How can I be the change? How can I drive growth? How can I change the status quo? How can I impact my organization? What can I do differently? Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm going to listen to you if you have any questions. And another thing, again, I would like to talk about is some of us also need to start volunteering, like, look at there are a lot of problems in Nigeria, but what can you do differently? How can you make impact? So if there's questions, you can, I don't know, we can ask now.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for this beautiful presentation. I happen to have gone offline due to network about 5 minutes ago. So please, if you have any question, please can you just either retype it in the chat box, or you could raise your hand and you have the opportunity to ask the question directly. Can we quickly do that in about a minute? And so we can sort that out. Thank you very much.
I think there are some questions.
I believe other questions are coming in. Someone has put up a question in the chat box. Yeah.
And someone says, please, can any pharmacist kindly share in the comment section? Okay, sorry. Example of project that can be executed in the community pharmacy settings aside community outreaches. It all depends on what you want to achieve at the end of the day. So it's not just about somebody telling you that this is what you can do in community or pharmacy setting, as you said. It's about what is the end goal? What do you want to achieve? What you want to achieve determines what you can do. It determines the kind of project you are putting in place. So I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say. It's not just why do we do community outreaches? What exactly are we trying to achieve? So when you don't know the reason, when the goal is not well defined, when the objective is not well stated, you won't know what to do. So maybe if you can tell me exactly what your objective is, what exactly are you thinking of? Then I can advise you and say, okay, this is the, excuse me, this is the best way to go about it. And this is perhaps what you can do. And I can also share with you some of the best practices that I've seen people in the pharmaceutical, what they're doing here in Canada and how that has changed pharmaceutical or there's an organization here called BioVectra. And BioVectra is one of the largest pharmaceutical company in North America. And they're just like 5 minutes away from where I am here. And I can share with you some of the things they've been doing, how they've impacted the community so well, and how BioVectra grew from a community-driven organization to a multi-billion-dollar company they are today. Excuse me. So if I know exactly what the goal is, it's easier to answer what your question is. And that's exactly what I want you to drive at. What exactly are you trying to achieve? The next person, Osioma, said, my question is on monitoring the success of the project. For community-wide projects like that of us health professionals doing public health, can you truly measure the success of such projects? For example, what I participated in was a few weeks ago, and some organization and outreaches and immunization programs. How can you measure that truly people learn what was taught in that outreach and going to live by them? You see, that's another problem we are having in Nigeria, whereby most, especially people in the health sector, we think that what we need to do is to, we as agency, go out to community and start thinking of what we can do for them. And rather than we thinking of how can the community help themselves, we are always thinking of what can we do to help the community. Let's go and do an outreach. Let's go and give them drugs. And at the end of the day, when you measure the impact, how many people truly learn what you have taught them? Measuring the impact of such project is not something immediate. You need to give it time, maybe 5 months, 6 months. What has changed? their habit, their way of living? Has anything been imparted? Is there any difference from how they were living before the time you went there for an outreach? The spread of the disease, has it gone down, or the spread is still, going on? Is there an upsurge of spread, or in infection and things like that? But in developed countries, most of the things they do is no longer about what can agencies do for community. And that's exactly what my presentation is all about to you today. It's not about what can the organization do for you or what can the organization do for the community. It's about looking inward. What can we do for ourselves? So if I were you, what I would be thinking now is, how can we start rethinking outreaches in Nigeria, especially in the health sector? How can we start rethinking outreaches? Can we start looking for different ways by which we can impact the communities in such a way that we can have more impact than the way it is at the moment? So if you want me, you can send me an email. I can send you some materials. I can link you up to some of the Cody fellows here who work in health sectors and around the world, that you can learn from some of the works they have done and read more about how they are using ABCD. You can read about ABC. For some of you that do a lot of community outreaches, please write it down. Just Google it. ABC, asset-based community-driven development. You can Google it right now or write it down in your own time, read it. If you have any information, I can give you more information about it. This is how the world is going now. Nobody is looking for agencies that will do outreach. If you come here today and said, we want to organize something for a community, we want to make jingles, we need money to carry out the project, nobody will listen to you. And that's why there's no impact. We're not recording much impact in Nigeria. So we need to start rethinking how we do outreach in Nigeria. In fact, if you are here, you are listening to me, and for you to impact your community, what you're thinking about is how I'm going to organize an outreach. Change your mind and start thinking of how you can make the community do outreach by themselves. How can you engage the community? Rather than you thinking of going to the community to do so and so, how can I get the community to do so and so? Leveraging on the assets, associations, institutions, resources that are already within the community. What is the difference between a project and a program? A program can be a subset of a project. A program is also well defined. A program is organized, within a specific time. A program is most often program is short period in terms of its time duration. But a project involves a lot of process. And like I've said, I've mentioned some of the process, that some of the phases of project planning. So you don't have that basically in programs. The program is just something you're coming up with within a period of time, and a program can be part of a project. Can you kindly suggest a time frame for us in each phase of project development? It depends on the kind of project you are doing. So the kind of project you're doing determines the time frame for each phase. And don't also forget that the people who benefit from your project or the sponsor of the project can also dictate the timeline for you. They might tell you, we want this done within 1 year. So it's for you to now look at it. I have 1 year to complete this project. How many months will I allot to each of the phases? Each of the phases of the project is quite important. Can you share about a project you conceptualized, funded, and implemented in Nigeria? Yeah, I've just mentioned some of the projects for you. I was part of a project I introduced in 2011 to Central Bank of Nigeria on abuse of Naira note. I did a project for MSMEs, micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises in Nigeria for Federal Ministry of Finance. If you go to Federal Ministry of Finance, if you go to UWIN office, you will see my picture in their office. I don't know if they've removed it, but 2016, when I was in the office, my picture was still there. The GEM project, I was also part of it. So that was before I left Nigeria. I hope I answered your question. Yeah, thank you, Ozoma. Yeah. All right, I think I I've done justice some of the questions that have been asked. I don't know if anybody still have any other questions.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Oh, hello, sir. Thank you very much.
I can hear you.
Just like the last question said, my network has been a bit bad here, so I've been going on and off. I don't know if you mentioned that you had already shared it, just like the last person asked, that's Pharmacist Oluwato, so she or he said, can you share, like, give us details about a project actually, started, how you went about funding or went about implementing it in Nigeria? I know you shared bits and pieces of how you went about working with CBN, but you said you were going to tell us, a bit more about it. I don't know if you're still open to, telling us about how it all went down.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit of it. Like I said, in 2011, we had a conference of brand controllers at Ota in Ogun State, and I was a rapporteur, and they were talking about abuse of Naira note. And in my mind, I started thinking, okay, what can they do differently? How can we solve or provide solution to abuse of Naira note in Nigeria? So I started coming up with ideas, and define exactly what I was trying to achieve, which is how to put an end to abuse of Naira note, what can be done, and who will be responsible, how will it be funded, and everything. So it was an idea I put together, and I defined each of the phases of the project. Like I've said, the first thing is who will be implementing it. Now, in the project, because it's for an institution, it's not just for myself, I shared it with them, help them in the process of what needed to be done, how can they do it. And don't forget, I was also a member, like I was serving there, so I was part of the organization. So it's more of having an idea, coming up with a project, and sharing it with people who are the stakeholders to implement. So if I'm going to go through the whole phases of how that project happens, it will take much of my time. And like I said, I have like just 10 more minutes with you guys to go. But if you want to know more about it, you can contact me. I will share the link and some of the information with you about.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I think someone just dropped one more question in the chat box from Pharmacist Sylvester DME.
What's the question? Thank you, sir, for the insights shared. My question is about communication standard operating procedure. In a situation where the communication plan is time-consuming for the project lead, how best can he or she delegate effectively without affecting the quality of output? I'm sure you also understand that sometimes when information is not well communicated, distortion happens, and part of the message or information is lost in the process of communicating it. So if you're too busy as the project lead and you're delegating, you want to be sure that before information you're trying to communicate is sent to your stakeholders or people who are involved, you have time to also peruse or go through what they're communicating on your behalf. So even though you've delegated information, the information should not be released until you have also gone through it and you approve it that, okay, the information captures exactly what you're trying to pass across. I don't know whether you get that.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so Mr. Sylvester has responded that yes, he actually got what you explained. Okay, so since there are no more questions.
Okay, but before we go, I just want you guys to do something, because if at the end of the day you listen to this and you do nothing with it, then you've not done me justice, and you've not also done justice to yourself. So I want you to think of 3 projects that you think you can embark on in the next 1 year, either for your personal business or your organization where you're working for, what can you do differently based on the resources that is available, based on the strength that you have, based on your previous knowledge? What can you do differently? What project will you execute in the next 1 year? And how will this affect you? What can you do differently in the next 1 year? I want you to write it down. And I'm going to be offering like 3 people, like just want to help at least three persons who has a definite, well-defined project. All I just needed you to do is to just do an executive summary. And if you can send it to my way between now and Wednesday, next week, Wednesday, I'll work with you in the process of implementing the project, leverage on the network I have here and in Nigeria to ensure that you are able to implement the project. I would choose based on those I feel like resonate with my own experiences too, and things I feel like if I feel it's tested and it's practicable. So I can say 3 people that we can partner, like can work together with. Like I've said, I'll leverage on the resources I have here in Canada and the network we already have in Nigeria. See how we can help somebody so that maybe in 3 months' time, in 1 month's time, you can say through the seminar or the workshop that was conducted by Young Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria, you've been able to do this. So you never can tell. So we can see 3 people who can just write an executive summary of a project that you intend to implement. It doesn't matter. It could be for your personal business. It could be for an organization you work with. It could be for your community. But I've told you, if it's going to be for the community, don't tell me we're going to buy 10,000 cartons of drugs and supply it to the community. I won't listen to you. If it is something like will be community driven, okay, we're going to get the community sit together and make them think on how they can help themselves, how the community can ensure that they maintain good environment, like help themselves. Then you can count me in. So if you have anything that is in line with that is community driven, any project that is community driven, just send me an email and I'll be glad to work together with you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I'm sure young pharmacists here would really, really love to jump on that. Would make our facilitator's email address available. Just reach out to me, and would see how once you have your executive summary written, would share the email address with you, and you reach out to our facilitator on that end. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for your time joining in today's session and even yesterday's. And we also say a very big thank you to our facilitator for giving us a fraction of his time to talk to us today and motivate us towards doing more productive projects in the course of our careers and all. Thank you very much, sir. We really do appreciate your time and the things you've shared with us. We hope that in the nearest future we'll have you again with us to talk to us and to motivate us once again. All right, thank you, sir. I think we will be drawing the curtain on today's event here. See you next time.